What is going on, everyone? AP over here, Run Pure Sports, bringing to you. We got me and Stats. We got Friday Night Fireworks. I believe that's what we call the show. Stats, what's going on, my man?
Not much, man. Just got back a little Fort Lauderdale trip, a little sports betting conference. I'm not feeling that good. You saw the batting cage display. I was a legend in the batting cages, and they had a cage set up there. And in fairness, I was hitting with like a 12-year-old's bat, but not happy with my performance. I did go back in the cage and go 3 out of 5, but
that's one I wouldn't opt to do if that was me. I didn't really play baseball growing up. I mean, I played it like with my buddies. We played intramural stuff, but I wasn't a baseball player. I played football. I swam. Those were like my two main sports. So I really never got in golf. I never really got into baseball. So I would look like sets. We'd all be laughing at me if I got in there trying to swing a bat. So I thought your swing looked fine. I mean, those pitches were coming in real fast.
Well, what happened was it was only like 40 feet. It was high. The speed wasn't bothering me. It was so they had the machine set up where it was throwing sinkers, which even in my heyday, I would have had a hard time there. So yeah, the speed wasn't a big deal, but the sink on it was a little troubling. But I went back in. I'm like, I can't. This is ridiculous. I'm like, I used to smash like batting cages. Forget it. The one thing I could do athletically was hit baseballs. Like I just smash baseballs, especially in the cages. So I'm like, this is ridiculous. So now I'm pissed off, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to the cages here where it's like legit, the right distance, right, and I'm just gonna fucking record smashing baseballs because now I've been pissed off for 2 days now.
Yeah, I like that. Yes, Uncle T, I was actually. So I know I tried to bait our guy Mangone into a side bet. It would have been unfair just because like once you learn that you don't really lose it. Now I'm old now. Like my son, he dusts me. Like if I try to get in there and compete against him, he destroys me. It's not even close. But against someone that hasn't, done that, I think it would be pretty easy, even at my elevated age. But we got a monster slate.
Yeah,
I got the playbook up for the members, trying to big shoes to fill, stepping in for Mr. Stevie Boyton. I appreciate him for covering me on Wednesday. Massive 12-game slate. Not a lot of weather issues. We do have winds. I think they're more so like going to be sideways and probably not be a huge factor here or down in Kansas City. But again, Kauffman Stadium, definitely a pitcher's park on most slates, most days. 15-mile-an-hour wind, though. So if you get in the right direction, obviously it would be favorable for bats. But I'm not necessarily seeing that otherwise, unless you disagree with me, Stats. But we'll get into all of that. Since I got you on this show, I figured we would share Saber Sim, so I could at least at a very high level go over my settings. I've done this with a few members, and it's helped them out quite a bit. My settings, I'm not here saying like I'm the best or anything like that. Right, wrong. They're my settings. It's what I typically lose, but I think it's in line, and I think you'll be fine with them stats. But let me just hit them on a high level, then we'll get into the slate. So real simple. Every single slate, I have my little things that I do. Like I don't want to see anyone that's projected under 4.5, so I do little things like that. Then I hide them all. That's like the stuff to like clean out all the clutter. And then the next thing I do is I set up my stacks. I believe you're going to be very much in line with this. I go all 5-2, all 5-3.
Especially on this slate, it's 5-2s and 5-3s. That's it. Yeah.
Stats. Even on 4-game slates, 4 or 5-game slates, I'm typically doing 5-2, 5-3. Sometimes I allow a 4-3. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, when it gets to like sub 6 games, you could start messing around with like the 4s and 3s. But for the most part, I think you're probably going to have more success just sticking with the 5s and the 5-3, 5-2s. I did some research on this a few years ago. And with the regular slates, for the most part, you just want to stick to that.
Now, here's the next thing I do. I go over to Team Stacks. I go to all stacks. I sort it by projected runs. And what I honestly like to do is I like to make sure, and I'll switch tabs here, and we're showing a little behind the scenes action tonight, which that's fine. I like to make sure I'm like 0.3 to 0.4, so not a half a run adjustment in line with your team totals. I like to have a little bit of bias in there. You'll see I'm under on the Snakes tonight by just a little bit, but I want my team totals to line up within 0.3, 0.4 of the team totals right here. And let me go back to Sabre. I adjust that here. I've already done that. You can see. And then what I do is I use the Sabre Sim adjusted. So what this does is give me a slightly different set of projections relative to the field. And then I manually go into the pitching section, and I like to be more so in line with our pitching projections. That's like what I call my base setup. And then here I like a lot of correlation. I don't want any bats against pitchers. And I like a lot of sim diversity. So grade my setup. That's my base setup. How do you feel about it?
I do a lot similar there. So I'll do what you were showing there with the team stacks. I do the same thing. I use my the stack prop sheet, and I'll just go change all of the all those run projections to what I have. What I have is based on the betting markets. So I tend to like that one. And like you said, that will adjust your it's going to adjust the projections on Sabre, which is nice. But you have to make sure, like you showed on my projection, that you use Sabre adjusted for that. So that's a key. The correlation, yeah, right around 9 or 10. Yeah, I agree with you there. I might use it depends. I'll vary the diversity just depending on the slate. But yeah, there's a lot of factors that go in. But I like your setup on the whole for the most part.
We want to go game by game, right? It's a loaded pitching slate. We can find a way to sum up our pitching. We'll do that. We'll do that at the very end. We'll give our top 3 pitchers, something like that. But it's a loaded slate as far as pitching goes. Let's start with this first game. We got the Mets, Yankees, Carlos Rodon against Tyler Miguel. What are you doing with this game here?
So just from a pitching standpoint, so I've got my own ratings for the pitching, and I've got obviously I've got the Boom Report, which we'll talk about quite a bit.
Let me show that real quick. Let me show that because
I don't have today's up. I don't have today's up there yet, so I'll have it up there for once we finish. But that's what it looks like that was yesterday's report. So I'm kind of waiting. I'm just waiting for these lineups because we got some key lineups that have to come out here on the late games that we're waiting.
This is perfect. So as we go through these games, you'll be able to see the last thing that I do, and I always wait till you give your last update as I'm going. Actually, then I sort it by position, and then I manually bump up a little bit the elite boom level guys just to add a little bit of spice, a little extra flavor and to add a little bit more bias, a little boom bias to the builds. That's typically my process, but I do that at the very end. So I love this sheet. This is how it looks. And then you got an article too that you do to kind of condense it down, but it's just a fantastic tool. Absolutely awesome. Run Pure RPS 15% off gets you access to the daily boom report over here.
Yeah. The nice thing with the article is it kind of summarizes it. It's going to give you some of the key stacks that you might want to play. You could also, what I like here is, especially on the shorter slates, like how I played it yesterday was, I'm like, all right, listen, I've got to have Stevenson in there, like, because it's a big drop off, right, at catcher. And I kind of based it like Cincinnati was going to be a pretty good stack, I thought. So I'm like, all right, I want Stevenson. I'm going to play Cincinnati stacks. And I kind of build it from there if I'm playing a single entry. That's how I kind of looked at it yesterday. It'll be a little different with 12 games here today. But, yeah, we'll go through it all, and I'll be referencing the boom sheet. And then once we get off the show, I will post whatever we have as far as with the lineups that are out.
Yeah, very good. All right, back to this game. Obviously, we have. Let me find my other sheet. Sorry, when I show this, it takes up a lot of my screen, so I got to organize things a little bit better. Yeah, all right, here we go. We got the Mets at the Yankees, a 9 total. I think we could see some action in this game. But what are you doing with Mets Yankees?
Yeah, so Rodon. Let me go over the pitching here. Rodon 10.1. So he's up there in price. I've got him rated on the slate as the 9th best pitching option. And this is taking into account salary as well, right? So I think we've got quite a few pitchers that I'm going to be taking. I'm going to roster ahead of Rodon tonight, but he is in the mix for my 150 builds for sure. And then And then with McGill, he's not going to. I won't be playing Tyler McGill in my lineups. I've got him down at a low level. He's the like 6 from the bottom for me on tonight's slate. Now the Yankee bats I think are really interesting. Now we're going to be talking at the end of the show with the 2 high totals here with the Dodgers and Arizona, but the Yankees are going when I post the boom sheet later and the boom report, you're gonna see the Yankees are going to show up as really high in tournament edge. That's another thing on the boom sheet that we added, and that's based on, as you're looking at right here, look at the ownerships. What are the ownerships that we got going on, or at least projected from Saber? Real low ownership on the Yankees. So when we've got low projection on the ownership, that tournament edge in the boom sheet is going to be higher. And when you get Judge will never be 7%. I'm sure he'll be higher than that. But at the same time, we're going to get probably decent numbers here. So where everyone's going to be looking at those other games, I think the Yankees could be a sneaky play tonight. So I'm going to try and get overweight on this Yankee lineup. And you do have some savings with Peraza and Vivas in the lineup. So you've got a couple of bats at the 2,500 and 2,300 where, we could save quite a bit. So they're going to make it more palatable to get some of these more expensive, the Judge Grishams of the world into your stacks. But I like Yankee stacks here as an alternative to a couple of the higher owned stacks that we're going to see on the slate.
Yeah, I do tend to have a little bit more bias towards, especially when it comes to recent hitting form over the last month. Again, you can take it so many different ways. You can create a larger sample size. You can be a believer in hot streaks if you want, which is kind of how I lean, right, wrong, or indifferent. But when you look at over the last month, the Yankees versus right-handed pitching, especially against a guy that gives up a lot of hard contacts, hard hits, almost a 50% hard hit rate, that spells disaster, like absolute disaster against this Bronx squad. So I really like the Yankees here with you. Another note too, this early ownership projection with Saber, it's usually off, okay? You got to wait and you got to be patient. Mm-hmm. The closer you get to lock, they're updating everything behind the scenes on their end. It gets more accurate as we approach lock. So take it with a grain of salt right now when we're looking at ownership projections. I agree with you, Judge. Rarely ever is he going to be 5, 6, 7% owned. He's typically much higher. So I'm with you on the Yankees side. I really like that. My one thing is we know Rodon is definitely susceptible to getting blown up. And so, like, I think this game, I'm not going to sit here and say like a full game stack. That might be hard to do because we have a lot of aces on the mound tonight, and we're going to want to prioritize some good, some good pitchers. I think both in our SP1, SP2. And so I think a full stack here would be very difficult, but I do think the Mets are very much in play against Rodon, who look, Rodon's awesome, but when it goes bad for him, it goes really bad. I mean, obviously, if he gives up a few fly balls that go out of the park, it kind of can just spiral out of control for him. So he's been good on the season, but still, I think he is prone to getting hit, especially from lefties. So we got Nemo, we got Juan Soto, who's starting to heat up a little bit. I think there's some viable Mets bats as well. So
I like the big Met bats as a secondary stacks. I like 2 and 3 man Met stacks here, like you said, with the guys that you mentioned and Lindor.
Yeah, and I'm under on both pitchers, so I think you like Rodon a little bit.
Yeah, but I'm going to be under them. Where do they have? Well, where's Saber have him now? I didn't look at his ownership projection, but yeah, I'm probably going to be under that. Yeah, I'm definitely going to be under on McGill, and I'll be slightly under on Rodon.
Yeah, let's go up to this next match. We'll start with pitching. We'll go Nationals, Orioles. Cade Povich, Nebraska guy. Obviously not someone that's in our pool today. Against Mackenzie Gore, which I wrote Gore up. Mackenzie Gore is like interesting stats. He had that first start that I thought was a complete outlier. And again, it was. I mean, I think you remember that where we had lighting issues. The sun was hitting batters. No one could see the ball. And both pitchers in that game, just double-digit strikeouts on both sides. I mean, it was insane. But I will say Mackenzie Gore's backed it up. He's been a viable arm, especially in DFS formats this season, and it looks like he's not getting a lot of ownership. What are you doing with the pitchers here, and what are you doing with the bats?
So Gore, I've got Gore pretty close to Rodon, and again, this is his price being taken into account. So they're really close to each other, and he's, like you said, the strikeout number is pretty good. So I like to look at the K per inning projections. One of the better K per inning. We've got a lot of good pitchers on the slate, but he's like the fifth. I think he's fifth right here in K per innings pitch. So that's always an indication to me of potential upside. So I will have Gore in the mix. I'm with you. Povich probably won't make the cut. Not a guy who gets a ton of strikeouts, so not really looking to roster him here, even at the 5,200. He's my 13th best pitcher on the slate at that price. Not awful. Maybe I'll get a handful in my 150, but won't be one of the pitchers that I'm looking at to target all that much. With that said, do we want to play a lot of these Washington bats? Not really. I mean, Abrams is always a potential play. He's going to rate out really well. He always rates out really well on the tournament edge because he just doesn't get the ownership because we don't typically see a lot of national stacks. So Abrams, I always like him as a one-off type of play. You could play Abrams and Wood. Those would be the two guys that I would play as in secondary stack situations. Now on the Baltimore side, I think they're a little bit more playable here. I think because you've got Mateo, when you got the 2,100, a guy in there at 2,100, you got Urias at 2,800, you got Laureano at 2,900. You've got some bats in there that can be complementary to some of these more expensive stacks that we have. So if you play, I don't know, how many Baltimore primary 5-man stacks I'm going to have, but it would be an interesting way to go with the cheap bats in this Baltimore lineup. Baltimore just has not been good.
They've been so bad.
So that's the problem. But I think I'd prefer maybe having a couple of, if I wanted to play these Baltimore bats, maybe playing I think you could, honestly, usually I like to play a more expensive one-off, but I don't mind Urias or Laureano, guys who can hit home runs, Laureano who can steal bases as well at 2,900. You may, with some of these stacks that we have today and some of the pitching that we have, you may need to have a one-off at around that 2,900 level. I don't mind Laureano as that kind of a player here tonight.
Hey, he's showing a lot of power, too, over the last month against lefties. I mean, the Orioles as a team have been horrendous against left-handed pitching, 108 ISO, 255 WOBA over the last month. I mean, when you look at this team, a lot of their best bats are lefties. Gunnar, lefty. Ryan O'Hearn, I mean, he's probably not one of the best bats, but I mean, lefty. So you got Laureano, who's a righty. You got Urias, who's a righty too. So I'm with you. I like Mackenzie Gore. It's a pitcher that I'm on. His K rate this season has been absolutely insane. It comes down to, can he limit walks, which tends to be, it seems like, his issue. And he does give up a lot of hard contact for fly balls. So it kind of fits both profiles there. Like in MME formats, you can play Gore. Not in the same lineup if you're stacking against him, obviously, but then you can use the Orioles side as a mini stack. I'm with you. I like Urias and Laureano on that side. The Nationals, too, similar story. Like, we don't like Cade Povich. If it was a small slate, maybe we would consider him. We just have too many elite pitching options. But the Nationals, it's night and day when you look at how they profile versus right-handed pitching versus left-handed pitching. Horrendous right now against left-handed pitching. It kind of makes sense. Abrams, he's a lefty. Wood, he's a lefty. Lau, he's a lefty. Tenna, he's a lefty. They're loaded with left-handed hitters. So it's just like one of those awkward setups to where I don't think I'm going to be overexposed to this game outside of Mackenzie Gore, and then maybe a little bit of secondary stacks is kind of how I see it. Any final thoughts there, or should we go to the next one?
No, we got a lot to get to.
Yeah, we do. All right, we got Detroit. We got Toronto against Detroit. Just going off the Saberson order here. Let me get this going. Who's the pitcher? There we go. Jack Flaherty, Bowden Francis. What are we doing with this game here?
Yeah, I mean, I don't like either pitcher. Francis at the 5,700, kind of in the same category as Povich. Not a lot of strikeouts that we're looking at, but the salary is the only thing. So again, maybe a sprinkle. And then as far as Flaherty goes, I'm going to pass on Flaherty. The strike, I mean, he's got a 4.5 strikeout total on the prop with almost 2-1 juice to the over. But there's just too many better pitchers here, and at the 8K price tag, I don't really like any Flaherty tonight. But as far as the hitting goes, I do like some of the Detroit bats. Again, they'll be more of a secondary stack for me. Torkelson, Carpenter, Green, those guys. I'm always looking for power, especially from your 2 and 3 man stacks. I want to get the power. If you've got some guys the stolen base guys, low price guys you mix in, those are the guys you want to play in your primary stacks. But when you're playing a 2 or 3 man stack, you're hoping to get a couple of home runs out of those guys, and I think those are the guys that you really want to target.
Yeah, I agree with that. Just going back to this too. So Jack Flaherty, I mean, he had an awesome season last year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have the full match. I did a deep dive on him. You can go and read. I don't think I posted all of my notes on it, but you can go read the write-up in the playbook today. If you're looking at it, I think he's like a large field MME play at best, a very, very, very risky one. His secondary pitches have been really good. It's his heater. He has absolutely no heater right now, and it's just getting absolutely feasted on. And so when you're looking at the Blue Jays, let me pull their bats up real quick. I want the power here. So, like I said, I'm not playing a lot of Flaherty. I might have a sprinkle. Like, that's it. It's banking on maybe he finds something, maybe 1 or 2 innings in, he finds a rhythm. He's a veteran. Like, he's definitely capable of that. But if it goes like his other starts have been going, this Blue Jays lineup, when you just look at them, a good 4-seam fastball hitting team, Dalton Varsho, Vlad. I mean, these guys could absolutely feast on it. A lot of them are hitting the ball really well. Even Bo Bichette had a home run the other day. It seems like it's been a while. Alejandro Kirk, he's starting to heat up. So I can't see the Blue Jays getting a lot of ownership here. But a lot of people aren't playing Flaherty either. He's not getting a lot of ownership. And so I think this is a really nice leverage spot, assuming you're not playing Flaherty. So this is one of those rare spots, MME formats. I have shares. I plan to have shares of Toronto stacks, not going crazy with it because I don't think we need a lot. I just think there's a lot of upside there. And then a tiny sprinkle, too, of Flaherty. And then Detroit, obviously, I think I have them as the 3rd highest implied team total there when I made my adjustments. This is definitely one of my favorite stacks against Bowden Francis. The guy has really struggled. 380 WOBA allowed, 270 ISO allowed over the last month, 65% hard hit rate, a lot of which for fly balls. So this Tigers lineup should absolutely feast. They profile very well too. This Tiger team's good, man. They're scrappy. They're good. They got power. They have good hitters, top to bottom. So this is definitely going to be one of my favorite stacks. I mean, even like Javi Baez is absolutely raking right now. I mean, it's impressive. This dude could not hit anything to save his life last season, like all of last season, and he's been crushing. So I have a ton of interest in the Tigers here tonight.
Sweeney in there too at the 3,100 is not a bad. That's a nice. If you're playing the 5-man stacks, I like to get him in there at that price. A little bit of power, a little bit of speed, not like, not huge in either one, but enough where I like getting him in. So if I'm playing 5-man, if you're looking to play a 5-man Detroit stack, I would put Sweeney in the mix.
The other thing, yeah, I agree with that. The other thing too that I like is, I mean, Javi Baez is batting 9th, and he's priced up, rightfully so. 296 ISO. 434 WOBA versus right-handed pitching over the last month. And even on the season, like, those numbers are pretty solid. Like, it's crazy. And look at the ownership projection. This I actually agree with. Whenever I play him and he's batting 9th, no one ever, like, his ownership is nothing. So I always bump him way up when I do my manual projections just to make sure I get some. the bottom of this lineup is always a really, really nice contrarian way to build a stack here. And the reach around stack is what I call it. The 8-9, 1-2-3 is golden for Detroit.
The only thing I hate is I hate Torres at that price at 5K, but I do like that wraparound. I would kind of leave out Torres, do 8-9-1-3-4. I like quite a bit, or 8-9-1-3-5. Something like that. I kind of like.
You know who has the worst metrics versus right-handed pitching over the last month? Torres. So I agree with you. We'll bump him down a little bit, Stats. I like that call. Let's go to this next game. Let's keep it running. We got the Rays, Marlins. Let's get this up. All right, Max Meyer and Taj Bradley. So, this is interesting because I think it was, 4 starts ago, Max Meyer comes out, has 14 Ks in 6 innings. Just monster start. Ever since then, I think he's just gotten shelled in every single start, giving up 5+ runs in each of them. What are we doing with this games? What are we doing with these pitcher Stats?
Yeah, I mean, Taj Bradley definitely in the mix here, 7K. I like that. Up over a K per inning. So pretty good there. Worry about the walks a little bit with him. But, at that price against this lineup, I think Taj Bradley's got to be in your mix. I've got him as the 7th best option on the slate here. And in the top 10, he's the cheapest of all the pitchers. So if you're looking to save some money at starting pitcher, I think you can definitely roster Bradley. Meyer, I mean, this is DC's boy, and I mean, he had a lot of strikeouts, but he's looked good in some other matchups as well. I mean, I've got him right in the middle, 12th pitcher on the slate, 8,200. He's just under a K per inning pitched here on the projections. Another guy you kind of worry about with his walks. I'm going to have a lot less Meyer. He'll be in the mix, but I kind of like Bradley here. I don't know if you have it up there, what's the ownership? Oh, there you go, 15%. I think you can maybe even get over that on Bradley. Meyer, I'm fine right around 5 to 8%, but no problem getting over there. But I think Tampa, you got some pretty good options for Tampa stacks, even against Meyer. So Caminero low, Aranda. There's a couple of lows and I think they're both in play for Tampa here tonight. So I do actually I like these 5-man I like the 5-man stacks for the Rays.
Yeah, I like that. Let me so my take on Max Meyer, I mean that one start, I mean it just showed his upside, which is incredible. Not many arms can do that. And so it's there. But also you have to understand the range of outcomes here is massive. And if you're running a lot of lineups, you can kind of embrace that. You can embrace the volatility. I actually think it's a really interesting spot for Meyer. I like the fact that Taj Bradley's going to be 3x his ownership, probably 2x his ownership. I want to flip it. I want more Meyer than Bradley. Now, again, these are not 2 of my favorite arms on the slate or anything like that. But this Rays lineup, they have struggled a little bit against right-handed pitching. I do think a couple days ago they did have a really nice day. What was that on Thursday or yesterday maybe or the day before? So again, it's one of those spots I don't love, but I think it's a spot where Max Meyer could have himself a night. So I think if you're running multiple lineups, outside of single entry 3 max, this is a guy that you try to get 2x where the field's at to give yourself a little bit of leverage there. And then I'm actually taking an under approach on Taj Bradley, assuming that he is going to get some ownership. I'm not sure if he's a full fade for me, but this is just a guy that hasn't looked right. I don't think he's looked great in any single start that he's had this season. So I've just been fading him. I'll probably do that again tonight. I just don't see how he doesn't get some decent ownership against the Marlins. They actually, over the last month, have some bats here that profile pretty well. 195 ISO, 320 WOBA against right-handed pitching. So they're kind of like a sneaky stack in MLB formats that I'm overweight on, only because I don't think it's going to take much for me to get overweight. But I mainly like him too as kind of like a 2-3 man. Looking at the 3-4 or 2-3-4 bats for the Marlins. Again, not like a game I love. I just think it's one that we can get both nibble. We can nibble on both sides here, and it's not going to take much to get overweight. Let's keep it going though. We got the Braves and Red Sox. We got a little revenge in this one, and we have two of the top arms. One I think is like severely underpriced. The other one maybe overpriced relative to the slate when you look at some of these other price tags. I would say Garrett Crochet is a guy with probably, I think there's three guys on the slate with that I consider probably having the highest ceiling, and one would be him, the other would be Sale, and the other is Cole Reagans, who we'll get to. But what are we doing with these two arms, and what are we doing with the bats here, Stacks?
Yeah, I mean, this is the best pitching matchup of the night. You get, I think, two of the highest pitching strikeout props. Sale at 7.5, -125 to the over. And is it Crochet? I always say Crochet, but is it Crochet?
Crochet. Sorry.
It is. Okay. I'm like, yeah, I'm very international. So the French pronunciation is how I do it. But it's 7.5 with a not juiced at all, basically, to the over. So these are the two pitchers that we're looking at as far as potential best strikeout pitchers, with Sal 1.3 K per inning projected. That's always what I look at as upside. Like I said, Crochet 1.23. These are number 1 and 2 on the slate. So I've got Sal as the number 1 pitcher. I agree with you. I think the price, he's definitely underpriced here at 8,900. He will be, I presume Sabres got him as the highest projected owned pitcher on the slate. Actually, no. Do they? Yeah, 22. Is that the highest on the entire slate? It's got to be. I mean, it's a big slate. So.
Yeah, I think he comes in higher.
But he comes in the 30. Yeah, he's going to come in the 30s, I would think. But I've got him 1, and I've got Crochet in the 4, and it's really because of the price is kind of bringing him down.
Stats. I think Crochet. I think he's going to be under the 17, just a function of price and the other arms on the slate. And I think Sale's going to be over. I don't know if you have a take on that.
I would agree with you. Like I said, I think Sale gets closer to 30, and I think Crochet gets under. I think you're going to want to get over on both of these guys. Maybe not as much on Sale, and I have Sale as my number 1 guy. I don't know if how hard you want to go, but I think 30% is the right number. But I think if you get 20% Crochet, that's going to be fine, because I think you might be right. We might get a little low just because of that 10-6, and with the big stacks that are going to be high owned here today. I think you want to get over on Crochet. So I'm looking at like 30% Sale and right around that 20% Crochet. I think you're going to be fine with your 150 builds.
Any of the bats here?
No, I mean, I love those leverage plays where we could get some of the higher owned pitchers. I just don't like it. I don't like either one.
I don't
of these,
like it here
teams
too.
Here.
I definitely don't like it. Yeah. No, I don't. I mean, the Braves, I feel like, JT Hayes talks about it all the time. They've kind of hit their ceiling. Like it's not the Braves that we know as far as the team, especially these bats. And they've kind of, hit above their head recently. So no, I want the pitchers here. I don't want much to do with the hitting at all. So we can keep it simple. We can just move on.
That's it.
Let's do it. Let's go to, all right, we got the Cardinals against the Royals. What do I call this? The I-70. I should know this.
You're a lot closer to it than I
know. It's the I-70 matchup. I think that's the highway that you take.
The 85 World Series. The 85 World Series rematch, yeah.
Yeah. That you take from Kansas City, gets you all the way over to St. Louis. What are we doing here, though? We have Cole Reagans against Andre Palante. That's how you pronounce his name, right?
I'm gonna say Palante, but Palante? I get all the pronunciations wrong.
When it comes to baseball, I'm the worst, because I don't. Yeah. Who watches baseball?
That's the problem. You don't watch. Yeah, you can't watch every game. So I'm like, and there's certain teams I hardly ever watch, and I'm like, I never know how their name's pronounced.
But I think Reagan's, and along obviously with Sale, like I think they're just way too underpriced here, and I think like Reagan's has been absolutely insane. So and then we have the weather situation. I don't know if you have a take on that. We hit on it at the start of the show, and do you think it's going to be a bump to bats? Like Kaufman's always tough. I mean, you need heat and you need the winds blowing out for it to factor for hitting there.
Definitely blowing out, because the last I saw was blowing across really strong. So I got to look again when I look. But yeah. Oh, here's the thing. The weather. The most important thing to look at it on the weather is is obviously for postponements and rain. You'll see that total. If that total starts jumping, that means the wind is probably blowing out. So pay attention to the betting markets on that. But the last I saw, it was kind of a left to right wind. Yeah, that's what they've got.
The other problem is he's a ground ball guy too. So, and the Royals, I know they get a lot of crap. They're slowly, very, very, very slowly profiling a little bit better hitting wise, but they're still not hitting the ball that great. They've been doing it with pitching. Their pitching has been awesome. Their bullpen has been awesome. That's how they've just been grinding out these wins. So it reminds me a little bit of the 2015-16 team. So we'll see how it pans out. But what are you doing with the arms here? What are you doing with the bats?
I got Reagan's at 3 as my third best pitcher on the slate. Again, we got pretty good strikeout potential there. 1.18 K per innings pitched on the projections. When we look in the betting markets for him, 6.5 strikeouts juiced to the over, and they're looking at 17.5 outs. Palante, I have no interest in at all, so I've got him rated pretty low. He's just not a strikeout. He's the worst strikeout pitcher on this entire slate. We're looking at
he's coming off like a career, what felt like a career best start too. The other day, it was a 4-game isolated slate.
Mm-hmm.
I remember because I was really close, but I needed more of him, and he put up a monster for him. Like 24, 25 DraftKings points. It was absolutely ridiculous. So he's not getting that today.
His prop is 2.5 on Ks. I mean, it's heavily juiced to the over, but it's like, yeah, I mean, we're just not expecting much. So he will not be in the mix.
Oh gosh,
at all.
Are chalk Royals again?
This will not be chalk. It's not chalk Royals.
Okay.
I don't think. No, I mean the Royal bats are not going to be too chalky. I just don't like a lot of the bats in this game either. Obviously you're going to prefer KC bats, but only the big. I mean, I'll always play Bobby Witt as a one-off play. But I really don't like stacks in this game. If I'm going to, again, maybe a couple of one-offs with Witt, but I'm kind of staying away from this game in general.
Yeah,
outside of Reagan's.
Yeah, good note here from our boy Boyden. One thing I always like to highlight, and again, these aren't these aren't make or break. They're not guaranteed or anything like that. But I always like to look for discrepancies between ERA, xERA, and then a pitcher's xFIP, and it's pretty noticeable in Reagan's 3.48 xERA, his 4.20 ERA, 2.06 xFIP. So obviously he's been very, very unlucky, and usually it's a sign that there's better starts ahead. And he has, I mean, it's hard to say with him because he has 4 starts on the season where he's produced 10 plus strikeouts. So it's hard to say like better starts are ahead. I mean, better starts are coming in the fact that we'll see him rack up those strikeouts, but reduce damage. And that could come tonight too. I think it's a fine matchup here against the Cards. So I'm definitely over on Reagan's tonight. Hitting wise, I mean, I have Kansas City as one of my stacks. I don't love it though against this pitcher. He's just a ground ball guy. Doesn't produce a lot of Ks, a lot of strikeouts. And Kansas City doesn't strike out a lot. But again, I've watched this team over and over just hit groundouts, double plays over and over and over again. It's just so tilting. So I was going to say, if they're going to be chalk, I don't really want much of them.
They have them pretty high. Yeah, I'm just looking at your screen now, and Sabres got them. But I can't imagine. You think they're going to be that high?
No, you got to I think the best time is like 20 to 30 minutes before lock. Make sure you update that. This button right here. Sometimes it can take a little while, so I don't want to click it right now, but make sure you update that. All these things update here. So ownership early on can be off. I think they're going to get some, but not like 20%.
No, it definitely yeah. By the time 30 minutes before lock, 45 minutes before lock, it's usually pretty good.
All right, let's keep it going. Let's go to, all right, we got VIP, or some people call them VIP, is Rangers against K. Falix Astros. What are we doing with this one here? We got Eovaldi against Lance McCullers. I mean, McCullers got shelled. He got destroyed in that last start that he had. I don't think he made it out of the first inning. Then what did he give up? Like 6, 7, 8 runs, something like that. I mean, absolutely embarrassing. What are we doing with this spot today?
Yeah, a lot of people. Well, I forget who they had to be playing someone terrible. I can't remember who it was because he was pretty high. A lot of people had him, and I'm forgetting now. I was lucky not to have him, but yeah, McCullers. I got him as the lowest pitcher on the entire slate, so that'll let you know what I think about him. Not a ton of strikeouts. Eovaldi, I've got him right at the mid here, 11. I mean, you're paying 10-4 for a guy. We're not getting the strikeout. At least the projections and the props for a pitcher at that price tag. So I'm not paying 10-4 for a guy whose prop is, 5.5 juiced minus 150 to the over. 18.5 outs is the prop, which is pretty good. But yeah, he's just kind of in the mid here for me. I'll have a few lineups with him, but I think it's just too much to pay with these other pitchers who I think are better regardless of the price. And now I've got to pay like $2K more for Eovaldi. So I'm going to be very light on Eovaldi, as I assume the market will be as well. As far as the bats go, I think it's really Texas for me, and I'm not really interested in the Houston bats at all. I always like the Texas bats. There's power there. Langford's always one of my favorite options. You've got Berger. Listen, Berger was made for the Boom Report. He is, he's the boomer bust type of guy. At 3K, he always kind of fits in nicely. So I think you've got some, you got Peterson at 2,600. I think you got a lot of ways that you could play Texas stacks here and get them and fit them in nicely. You've got just enough salary that you could save on with Texas bats that they'll fit in well with some of these other stacks tonight. So I do like the Texas bats.
Yeah, I think this is going to be another spot that gets steamed. Like, I think this ownership is incorrect. Yeah, I think it's going to go up. I think you got the recency bias against what McCullers just did or what he didn't do. And man, my only issue, again, I know this stuff shouldn't matter at all, but every time I play, and Vip, I know you're listening. I know you're watching. Hopefully you are. Anytime I play your Rangers, they do absolutely nothing for us. So,
well, they
love the spot though.
They were like the chalky for like 3 games, right? What were they played the White Sox there, and
yeah.
So they were chalky every game. Like the first 2, absolutely nothing. Then they finally hit. So yeah, I mean, they are a very boom bust type of team, a lot of power, and this is a matchup. I think you're right as far as the ownership will probably be a little higher, but I think you want to get some stacks in for sure with Texas bats.
Then I agree with you. Eovaldi's been real life phenomenal. 2.98 xERA, 2.71 xFIP. His K rate is up relative to last year. He's not walking anyone at all. But I agree, the price is insane. He's real life good. I'm not going to say he's Logan Webb, but he's kind of close to the old Logan Webb that we know and love. Just the real life good. Tough to play at this elevated price tag when we have Cole Reagans and Chris Sale, even Corbin Burns. We'll get to that spot, which could be disgusting, but we'll see. It's just tough to play him. So I think he's going to be under-owned, but it's not like we're stacking against him too. Like, I'm not going to stack against Eovaldi. So I'm just going to be under on Eovaldi off the Astros, maybe in line with the field on the Rangers, maybe over. I'm not sure yet. They burned me so many times. I do think it's a really, really good spot. It's just one of those things, like it's one of those situations where I want to see the updated ownership projections. So let's keep this going. Obviously, massive slate. Let's move to this next game. We got the Twins against the Brewers, and we have Joe Ryan, who's starting to heat up against Chad Patrick. What are we doing with this spot?
Yeah, so I mean, I've got Ryan as my 8th best option on the slate, up over 1K per inning, which I like. Low walk total, so there's always potential for a big outing from Ryan here. So I do like Ryan. He'll be pretty heavily in my mix. Patrick, I'm going to pass on. Not enough strikeouts for me on a slate like this. 6,500, obviously the cheap price, but he's not going to make the cut for me here tonight. But yeah, the bats, I'm not in love with the bats either. I think you could actually play a few bats both ways, even against Ryan, where I think we maybe get a little leverage. You might be able to play some secondary stacks, just the big bats, Churio, Yelich against Ryan. And then I think similar, like you got, is Kersey in there? Is that lineup out? Yeah, that lineup's out and he's in, right? Is he in the lineup?
Sorry, let me.
Kersey Jr. Let's see. Yeah, he's in there, batting 8th. So I mean, at 2K,
no Buxton today.
What was up?
No Buxton today. He didn't get hurt, did he?
Not that I'm
going back and forth between NBA and I mean, it's easy to get lost in the mix. But
no, I don't believe there's anything wrong with Buxton as far
okay,
as,
good.
Oh,
no,
he's day to day.
I mean, Buxton,
yeah, they're saying he's day to day on Sabres,
okay.
so maybe he's got a little something. But at the 2K price, that and you got a guy stolen base, a little bit of pop, can steal some bases. Don't mind using him as a one-off if you need to save there. So at 2K, I think he'll get a little bit of ownership. Bottom of the lineup guy. But yeah, I mean, whenever you get a min-cost guy who could at least do something for you by himself, I don't mind that. So you've got some options in this game.
I really like Joe Ryan. I like what we've seen over the last 3 weeks. Really, really impressive metrics. On the season, 3.54 xERA, 3.10 xFIP. But again, over the last 3 weeks, he's not walking anyone. 26 strikeouts to just 2 walks and 2 earned runs given up is pretty insane. The heater's been awesome in his secondaries. He's got 3 or 4 secondaries, and it's been the sweeper, I believe, that he's found that has really, really elevated things over the last 3 weeks. So I really like what I've seen in Joe Ryan. Again, he can get himself into trouble because he does throw that heater at a 60+% clip. It comes, and if the secondaries aren't hitting, he can become kind of predictable. So like that's the issue with him. But his four seam is so good. So I like him. I want to be overweight. I think he could get lost in the mix a little bit when you got the Reagans, Stale below him, and you got the Eovaldi's and the Webb and Crochet just above him. So I think he's kind of in that range where maybe he gets a little bit lost in the mix. So I'm taking an overweight stand. I'm with you. I'm not too high on the bats. Lower on the Twins now with no Buxton. He's been destroying the ball. He's been incredible. And Royce Lewis, obviously, he's just getting going. So hopefully he can stay healthy. That's like always his problem. But let's keep it going. Let's go to the Mariners and Padres. We got Kolick. Again, who's he pitching against?
Evans.
Evans. What are you doing with this one?
I don't care for either pitcher in the matchup.
Same.
Yeah, so I mean, you got a 4.5 strikeout juice to the under for Kolick and 3.5 juice to the under heavy for Evans. Not anything that's going to get you too excited. So they're two of the lower pitchers I have for the entire slate. The San Diego bats, actually both sides. I always like Seattle bats too, but it depends. Getting them, this isn't a great ballpark either, San Diego, but when we get Seattle outside of Seattle, it's always a little bit better. So I think both teams' bats are in play for this game. We're going to have the big bats like Tatis and Merrill and Machado are going to be. You'll see they're going to be high on the boom sheet. And I don't think we're going to get a ton of ownership on these guys either. So these could be really good leverage plays. Same thing on the Seattle side. Raleigh, Rodriguez, Rosarina. Rowdy and Tavares, those guys. I think you can play. I think both sides of this game could be a little sneaky for some games for some stacks, some 5-man stacks, especially the San Diego side. I mean, there's a lot of guys who are going to rate well on Seattle. I think the San Diego side, though, I would be looking at as an alternative to some of these other higher owned stacks. I mean, the Sabre, I don't know if Sabre's wrong here. Maybe they are. I mean, they're probably a little light, especially on a Tatis and a Machado. Maybe a little up, but
I'll update it. We'll see if it changes. I just hate this park. Like, it's a terrible park.
The park sucks. That's the problem. I mean, but they're still, like, the projections. If you look at the betting market and everything, they're still projected out, which is what the Boom Report's going to look at. They're all guys. The nice thing is these are all guys who steal bases as well. So when you talk about Tatis and Merrill and Machado, even looking at on the Seattle side with Rodriguez and Rosarena, they're guys with pop and stolen base potential. So I like that. I think this game on both sides could give us some kind of sneaky options. San Diego might be a little light in the ownership here on Sabre, but I don't think they're going to be all that high because I think a lot of people will shy away from the park, and we've got some other better games on paper.
God, they are hitting well too. 330 Woba with this lineup. Tatis, he's hitting the ball really well. Cronenworth, even Gavin Sheets. I could get on board, but I just struggle with this park.
Yeah,
maybe that's one of my problem stats. Maybe I got to Jets. There's so many times where I'll just like cross them off on a big slate. On a smaller slate, I know what's different. Like, I know it's definitely different, but on a massive slate like this, where I do want to take some stance, if there was any decent pitcher on the other side, I usually would cross them off. I'm not super familiar with Logan Evans, though, for the Mariners. I mean, doesn't look great from the short sample that I'm looking at. So, yeah, I might get on board with a sprinkle of Padres stacks. I don't know if I can do it with the Mariners. They have been awesome, though, on the season. Did you say you are playing them or against Kolek or not? He's another guy who's a ground ball guy, 60% on the season. If you factor in last year, 57% ground ball rate. So, obviously, very good at limiting damage on hard hits.
Yeah, no, I think Seattle's in play as well. I mean, I know the total here. I don't know where I've got them on my stack totals with Seattle. Yeah, I mean, they're just under 4, which obviously isn't great. But I think more so, a lot of the bats are going to rate well when the Boom Report comes out here. I think you're going to see a lot of their bats rate well. They'll play nicely in set because they're going to rate really well because they have a lot of power. So I prefer them really for secondary stacks. I think San Diego 5-man stacks are in play. I agree. I hate the ballpark, and you do have to take that into account because I talk about this with DC all the time. We get fatter tails on the ballparks like Arizona and obviously Colorado and Yankee Stadium and all those. But yeah, I think San Diego could potentially win somebody some money tonight.
All right, very good. On to a favorite of ours to talk about, right? The Rockies. I will say they do have their top prospect coming up. Will be interesting because they've been horrendous. I mean, this kid, hopefully he shows us something. For Rockies fans out there, they need it. They need something, a glimmer of hope. Maybe, just maybe, it comes from their top prospect, Carson Palmquist. Is that his name? He's been okay in the minors, but the guy does have, it looks like he has some nice strikeout stuff. So what are you doing with this game? And then obviously the Snakes project to be pretty popular on the slate tonight.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Burns is going to be pretty high owned. I got him as my second option pitching. And these guys up at the top, between him and Sale, it's real close. So they're only fractions apart from each other. So 9,100, again, pretty good strikeout numbers here against a really terrible offense. I mean, they're bad in Colorado, let alone outside of Colorado. So Burns will be high owned. I think someone mentioned that he's at least projected higher than, and you've got it up here, projected higher than Sale, but I think you want to get over on Burns also.
So, okay, that's what I was going to ask you, because Burns has been horrendous. Like, he's been so bad. 4.95 xERA, 4.14 xFIP. So maybe some better starts to be had. His walks are insane, 11.5%. But then if you look at his last start, he looked fine. He looked decent against the Dodgers. Only 5 Ks, 0 earned runs though, 5 hits. He walked 2, but he went. The duration was awesome. That's like his lone start where he actually looked somewhat decent. Now he gets the Rockies. I can't like Corbin Burns as chalk is it feels like Keith Mitchell as chalk, who's going to miss the cut.
Yeah. No, it's scary. I get it. I mean, his prop is 6.5 strikeouts. It's a little less than what we had with Crochet and Sale.
I don't know if he's ever hit that all season. I got to look this up now.
Yeah, that would be a good question. I don't have it. I don't have his season stuff up in front of me, but I mean, against this lineup, that's the reason why. And so I mean, I like him. Do I like being on the chalk Corbin Burns pick? But against this damn Colorado lineup, man, it's tough to pass him up. So I do like him. Like I said, I got him ranked here number 2 pitcher.
He did get 8 against Tampa. That's it though.
Yeah, I mean, again, Colorado so bad. So I think you've got to play him. I don't know. Like, he's probably not going to be my core pitcher just because I'm going to want to go down in salary. So probably won't make the core, but I will. I'll definitely have plenty of Corbin Burns here tonight. That said, also, I mean, as far as the bats go, this is all Arizona. I mean, we're not even considering Colorado. I don't like it as a contrarian play or leverage play, anything like that. But these Arizona bats are very much in play. They should be heavily owned. Maybe the ownership's pretty. Carroll and Marte there, pretty high owned. I think we might get even more. So you've got, when you've got Gurriel, who I think they're projecting decent ownership at 3,500. The prices aren't terrible. We don't have the lineup out yet, I don't believe, but what we could project with Suarez and Naylor and Gurriel, and then Alek Thomas there at 3,400. Just the guys, and I'm just giving you the cheaper bats, Suarez, Marte, and Carroll for sure. I mean, all of these guys we're projecting for over 20% probability on home runs, which is really, really high. And of course, with Carroll, you get the additional stolen base possibilities. So I love Arizona stacks here tonight.
When you look at, or at least what I'm looking at, the Snakes against left-handed pitching over the last month, it's not great. 257 WOBA, a little bit of power there, 133. It's mainly being carried by a couple bats, Gurriel, Corbin Carroll, who seems to go yard every single night. Get like that notification. It's almost like an underdog NBA notification injury report. I mean, the dude is just absolutely raking constantly. Outside of those two guys, Ketel Marte too, he's decent. Everyone else is struggling against lefties, and we don't have tape. We don't have a lot of tape, so it can go either way. And I think I'm going to take an under stance on the Snakes tonight, assuming that they're going to be chalk. Just banking on the variance there that we see often in MLB. And I actually like a few. I just can't do Corbin Burns as chalk. I get it. I'll probably be at the bottom of leaderboards tonight when he owns me, but it's just kind of how I play. I'm not maxing contests. Tonight I think I'm playing, like 40 lineups, 35, 40, something like that. So I got to make some stands because I do like to play like I am playing 150. But you have Jordan Beck, you have Hunter Goodman. Those are two guys that I think are somewhat decent. Maybe, just maybe, they can get to Corbin Burns tonight. I just don't think he's looked good. He's walking batters. He's struggling to strike out. I know everyone strikes out, or everyone does well against this Rockies lineup. I know. I get it. I'm just hoping that hopefully they're tired of being embarrassed, and hopefully those two guys show up. Because I do think Jordan Beck and Hunter Goodman, they do look pretty decent. So that's my reasoning for being under on Burns. I don't think I'm full fading them, but I'm definitely going to be underweight. What do you think he's going to be? 30, 35%, 38, something like that?
No, I think it'll be
Terry.
He might be a little less than that.
You're fine. Eat the chalk. I'm not saying. I'm just telling you. I'm trying to be transparent. I'm saying what I'm doing. Doesn't mean it's right. I guarantee you, it doesn't mean it's right. I'm
no. I don't know if he gets the 4.
lot.
Yeah, I don't know if he could get the. I don't know if he gets the 4. I would say low 30s tonight. That's where I'm going to say he comes in at ownership level. Not. He might get 40 points, like Uncle T said.
Oh,
but yeah,
Uncle T. Uncle. We have look at the options. So, look, I'm going to run a tighter pitching pool tonight, which is why I'm taking an underweight stance. And look, it's not like I'm excited about the Rockies, but Sale, he can outproduce Burns, Reagans, Joe Ryan. I mean, there's 3 right there. Mackenzie Gore. I think all 4 of those guys produce a higher score than Burns tonight. So, and if you want some of that action, Uncle T, you can slide on in. The DM's open. It's always open, especially for my guy, Uncle T. Let's keep it going. We got the Angels against Dodgers. This should produce some fireworks here. Dodgers with, I believe, the second highest implied team total. I know I bumped down the Snakes, but I think they're just behind Arizona. What are we doing?
On mine, I had them. They're at just about the same in the betting market. So I've got them as number 1 with Arizona.
Yeah, we got Dustin May on the mound, who's obviously like a talented arm, very, very talented. But man, he's just all over the place. Can't be trusted. Can't stay healthy. And then we got Jack Kowanowicz, I believe.
Kowanowicz, yeah.
Kowanowicz.
Just say it once because we're not going to use them. So
yeah, some dude I'm definitely not using that is not good at all. What are we doing with this spot tonight?
I'm going to start with the pitch and just, like I said, Kowanowicz or whatever the hell his name is ain't in the mix. But Dustin May for sure is at this price, 7,200. Matter of fact, he might make my core. Now, I've got him as the 5th best option on the slate. But at that price tag, if I'm making one lineup, I may want to use him as a little bit of a savings to get some of these bats in. So I'm going to look at that heavy here in a couple of minutes once we get off. But yeah, there's a good chance May's going to make it into my cores here tonight. So it looks like the lineup actually just came out. We've got the lineups here for both teams. So if I get something off, but this game we're not even looking anything Angels. So I'm not touching anything Angels. And the bats here for this is probably, I think it's the best stack of the night. If you take salary and ownership and all that out of it, I think the most likely team for the highest run total is going to be is the Dodgers here tonight. Their home run potential. This is the highest, I believe. This is the highest projection for a home run I've seen all year with Ohtani, like 32%. I mean, it's insane. So he's always at that 6,500 mark. He's he hit one yesterday. He will certainly be owned today. But you can mix it in there with is Rushing in the lineup? Is Dalton Rushing in there or is he not? Oh, that was good. No, I don't see him in there. Nope. Yeah. Oh, did you? Let me see, because I just refreshed it. If Rushing is in, because that was going to be a big savings. He is not. Will Smith's catching. Not. Oh, that was going to be really good if we were getting some Dalton Rushing in there. So yeah, it's going to change things a little bit, makes it a little bit more difficult. You got Conforto though in there, and Muncy. Muncy's been, not great, but Conforto at the 3K. We do have, you've got plenty of bats here to at a low price to kind of offset some of these big bats for the Dodgers. I think
Muncy is heating up though. He's heating up right now.
Yeah, I mean, I keep playing. I don't get too caught up in the, in whether players are hot, they're not hot. I just kind of play where the projections and where we're projecting them out to be. But there's enough bats here where you've got these super high expensive bats with some really cheap ones. The Dodgers stack, I think, winds up being one of the probably the highest owned stack, I think, on the slate, but deservedly so.
Yeah, and actually, like the Angels have been somewhat viable. I think a lot of credit to Yamakata, but no Trout in there. I mean, Trout, he gave us his month, not even, and it's almost like the Angels have gotten. I'm not going to say better; they're still striking out a ton, and that's why I probably shouldn't fade Dustin May. I was initially going to fade him, but 29% strikeout rate over the last month versus right-handed pitching. May is like wild, and I always worry about his duration. It's very, very volatile with him. But man, this lineup is just a dream lineup if he can not walk batters and if he can limit damage, which usually you can do with this lineup. So I agree with you. Very, very high on the Dodgers tonight. I think I definitely want more Dodgers than Arizona. So right, wrong, or indifferent, that's where I'm at. All right, here we go. We're at the last game of the night. We got the A's, who have been pretty good against Logan Webb, though. Obviously tough spot. And the Giants here, JP Sears and Logan Webb. What are we doing with this late game tonight?
So, I mean, I've got Webb at the sixth best pitcher, 9,700. Problem, just not enough strikeouts. Where he's rating high for me is the fact that he's the best pitcher projection as far as walks and one of the better options here as far as runs given up again projected against this Athlete. I was going to say Oakland, but against this A's lineup. And then JP Sears just not going to be an option for me at all. So I think you could get, I don't know what we're thinking as far as ownership on Webb. I see that they've got 20%. I think you want to get under, just because I don't like the strikeout numbers here at the 9,700. So I've got him as the, again, sixth best option on the slate. I have no problem getting under and getting down to like a 10 or 12% on Logan Webb tonight. With that said, I really don't like bats in this game at all. I think I totally stay away from A's bats. If you want to throw in some San Francisco bats, I just don't see the reason for it. I'm just kind of staying away from this game for the most part.
I like Ramos. Heliot Ramos, dude mashes the ball. 305 ISO, 443 WOBA over the last month. Chapman's been hitting the ball really well too. But again, I'm not five-man stacking in this park. I certain things I do. I'm not doing it. I do think a one-off or two-man secondary stack is perfectly fine. Using like a lefty masher in Ramos or Chapman. You got Big T's boy Wilmer Flores in there too. I mean, I think they're viable options, but I don't think you want to full five-man stack them. So I believe we're pretty much aligned with that one. All right, let's sum this up. That's all the games tonight. Let's go over what our top three favorite pitchers, top three stacks.
So we do. So we usually do a home. So we do a home run call. We do our stack, and we do our the pitcher that we need the most, that we think we'll need the most tonight.
All right, let's do that then. Home run call. I see. Like,
go ahead. You give me yours.
Where I'm struggling is how am I supposed to do mine without the Boom report? When we got Mr. Boom right here.
Exactly. Well, here's the thing. You can't. It's crazy to use Ohtani. I try to pick someone not Ohtani and Judge because it always seems like stealing. But
I got mine. It's chalky though.
Go ahead. Give me yours. I'm close.
Well, it's just, I mean, in chat, you guys got it too. But I am one of those types that I like hot streaks. I know, believe in them or not. I feel like it's when these guys find it, they find it. And I think Max Muncy's found it. 2 bombs over the last two days, 2 games. I think he gets another one tonight. So that's my chalky bomb of the slate.
I like the call, and he's at that price tag, 3,100. I love it tonight. But I'm gonna go just because Yankees Mets. I'm a big Mets fan, and I do like the Yankee stacks, but I'm just gonna, for the sake of it, I'm gonna take a Lindor bomb tonight. So I'm going with my boy Francisco to hit one. As far as the stacks, so we usually do it like a sneak. I think the Dodgers are the best stack of the night, and I'm going to say I hate to say it. Actually, I'll get away from the Yankees. I'm going to say San Diego winds up being my kind of my sneakier stack on this slate.
I like that. Yeah, I think so. I think yeah, I got to go Tigers. Tigers against Bowden Francis, probably my most important stack. Rangers is chalk. I can't do that. My sneaky one, this is more of like a mini stack. So like your 2-man, 3-man, and ideally focusing on the power bats. But the Blue Jays against Jack Flaherty, he's serving his 4-seam up. Very, very hittable pitch right now. His secondaries look good. If you can figure it out, he could get back to what we saw last year. I don't think he's going to get it fixed. And the Blue Jays, they're a disciplined team, typically disciplined. I think they're going to sit, they're going to wait, and I think they're going to launch a couple against Flaherty tonight. So I think the Blue Jays as a mini stack is my contrarian stack. And then top pitchers or most important pitchers?
Yeah, your most important pitcher today.
So my most important has to be Reagans. He's too cheap. He's going to be chalk. But again, Corbin Burns is going to be chalk. Chris Sale is going to be chalk. There's a lot of these guys that are getting ownership. I'm going to be under on Burns, and I'm going to be way, way, way over on Cole Reagans. I think he's just been phenomenal. Highest K rate or K percentage on the slate, 38%. I'm not saying he's going to maintain that rate. What I do think, though, is he's going to stop getting unlucky, and I think it starts tonight. So he's going to be my most important pitcher tonight. What about you, Stats?
Yeah, it's a toss-up for me between May and Taj Bradley, a guy who you don't particularly like much tonight. So, but I'm going to go with Bradley
a little bit. I'm adding him in.
I'm just going to go with Bradley as my most important here. I think he's got more upside than May does, and I'm going to go with Taj Bradley. Hopefully I'll be a little over the market. I think he's going to be important for me here tonight.
All right, very good. Well, that ends it. Boynton, hopefully I made you proud, my man. I know big shoes to fill. And these Fridays, I'm going to try hopping on more as long as I don't have something going on. So instead of a 2-man booth, 3-man booth, I'll keep my comments minimal too to focus on you guys. But I like the show. I like the Friday fireworks show, especially with you, Stats, with Boynton. I think it's good stuff. We have a big weekend. We have MMA, we have NASCAR, we have PGA Showdown, all kinds of stuff going on this weekend. Use the code RPS15, 15% off. Any final words before we get out of here, Stats?
That's about it, man. Let's for those not subscribed, go subscribe to RPS. You get that boom report, which is winning a lot of people some money in MLB this year, and I'm going to have that up in the next 5 minutes. So,
all right, very good. And for our friend B. Nick, go New York, go New York, go boom.
Yeah, let's close that out.